Hi there, and welcome to this video. If you're watching this, that means that you are appointed as one of the academic coaches of an ISBEP student. This is a student who is doing their regular BEP project with you in the department, facilitated by us at Innovation Space. Now in this video I'm going to tell you all ins and outs that you need to know before you can supervise these students. Let me start by telling you something about Innovation Space in general. For those of you who don't know it yet, Innovation Space can be seen as the expertise center for challenge-based learning and student entrepreneurship of our university. This is a hub for education innovation where teachers and students come together to think about the education of the future. And in the many projects that we organize at Innovation Space, students are working on solutions for real-world challenges. Now in this presentation I'm going to take you through the process of ISBEP by first telling you something about what the projects are like. After that I will explain to you what the group structures are like. And finally I will explain the assessment of ISBEP students. So regarding the project information, it is important for you to understand that your student is going to collaborate in a group of 3 to 6 members, other students who come from different disciplines. And they are going to work on a societal challenge that is brought in by an external organization or a research group at our university. Important to know is that this challenge is open-ended. There's not one best solution. The ISBEP project takes a full semester. We run this twice per year. Many course activities are organized in the first of the 2 quartiles. This means that we have many in-class activities in either quartile 1 or quartile 3, which also means that the student is going to be very busy with ISBEP specific activities in those quartiles. For this reason we aim to be flexible during the process, allowing the students some time to adjust to the complexity that they are experiencing at ISBEP. We try to give them some time to get to know each other, get to know the language that students from other disciplines are speaking, allowing them to settle a bit and find a direction with their team. What this team concerns, your student is most likely placed in a group of students that consists of 4 or 5 students that come from different disciplines. Now in this example your student is coupled with students from 4 other disciplines and together they form a team. Now you are what we like to call the academic coach of your student. This means that you are responsible for warranting the disciplinary depth of the project that your student is doing as their bachelor end project. Now all the other students in the team also have an academic coach that is responsible for warranting the disciplinary depth of their individual parts of the projects. Now students are working on a project that is brought in by what we call a challenge owner. This can be an external party, a company, an organization, or an internal research group that asks an open-ended question that can only be answered by combining the knowledge from different disciplines. Now it's important to know that the challenge owner is not the boss to this team, right? Like the students are responsible for making decisions about the direction their project is taking. If this direction is slightly different from what a challenge owner might want, this is okay, and we discuss this with the challenge owners and we try to prepare them in such a way that they understand the possibility of students going in a slightly different direction than they had expected to begin with. Now to help the students to maneuver through the complex process of ISBEP, they are also coached by process coaches. Our process coaches are experienced student assistants who are familiar with coaching groups of students in challenge-based learning projects, and they guide these groups of students through all the different complexities that they experience throughout the ISBEP project. Now in terms of assessment, there's 2 different components. The first one is the assessment on disciplinary level, and that assessment is performed by the academic coach. In this case that would be you. The students are expected to comply with all the disciplinary deadlines and deliverables, which includes potential professional or personal skills that are included in the bachelor end projects for students within your department. This means that your students are following the exact same process administratively as the students who do a regular Bachelor End Project within your department. Now, in addition, we at Innovation Space have specified our own learning objectives, and I will tell you those in a minute. It's important to know that the assessment of these learning objectives is performed by us. So we look at the development that students show throughout the process on these learning objectives that we specified. Let's have a look at these learning objectives that we have. And before doing this, I also want to tell you that students who are doing an ISBEP project, they are rewarded with an extra 5 ECTS for passing the elective course that covers these 7 learning objectives. Now, the first of these is that students are expected to be able to identify the interdisciplinary problem that they can tackle with their team, bringing the disciplines of their project together and its disciplinary components. The second learning objective is that students learn to collaborate with students from other disciplines. And we always see that it takes students some time to get adjusted to understanding each other well. Like talking with students from other disciplines always brings their own complexities. The third learning objective focuses on identifying the needs of different stakeholders. Well, I already mentioned you as an academic coach, the challenge owner. There could be end users of a potential product. There can be like people living in a neighborhood where a certain product is going to be applied, or there can be other types of stakeholders. And the challenge for students is to identify who these stakeholders are, what their needs are, and then trying to fulfill the needs that these people have. The fourth intended learning outcome is managing uncertainty, ambiguity, and risk. Doing an ISBEP project is very complex for students. There's a lot of uncertainties, whether or not they're able to answer their questions, whether or not they're able to bring all their disciplines together and find a solution to the problem that they define. And dealing with this uncertainty is something that we are specifically looking at. And the next learning objective focuses on students' ability to approach their project with a holistic perspective. This essentially means that a challenge that is brought in can be tackled in all kinds of different ways. And depending on the composition of a team of students, students can go one or another direction. Of course, they will not be able to cover the full, scope of the challenge that is brought in. Now, being able to see this scope and understanding what part of it they can actually be working on, bringing the disciplines of their own team together, is what we test in this learning objective. And finally, second to last, we want students to be able to translate the individual components in what we call a demonstrator. We often encourage students to come to us with something tangible, something we can touch at the end of the project. Depending on the composition of a team, this is more or less likely to happen. That's why we call this a demonstrator. We let students free in deciding what type of demonstrator they end up with, but we do want them to show us how they bring their different disciplines together in solving the challenge. And the final learning objective that we specified is that students should be able to critically and constructively reflect on their role, like the role that they have played within the team. And this is really making them realize what their individual contribution is when they are working in a team with students of different disciplines. Now, the assessment of these 7 learning objectives happens a number of times through the project. And we do this on process level. And we look at the process that students are going through on 4 different levels. And these 4 levels are phrased beginning, emerging, proficient, and advanced. Now, we expect students to come into the project having a level that is either beginning or sometimes emerging if students already have some experience with certain learning objectives. And by allowing the students to learn throughout the process and having them reflect on their development and their growth, we are encouraging them to move from beginning to emerging or proficient or advanced levels throughout the course. Now, as I mentioned, we assess the students' level on each of these 7 learning objectives several times throughout the semester. And we do this every 2 to 3 weeks. We have students reflect on where they think they are, and then we have the process coaches kind of like validating these reflections and trying to give them some feedback and input that can help them to reach the next level. Now, at the end of the course, we want students to show a sufficient growth on all the 7 learning objectives that we have specified. And in addition, we want the students to end up in one of the green components or one of the green levels at the end of the course for all of their learning objectives. And if they do this, then the students are rewarded with the extra 5 VCTS that come as an addition to their BEP project. Now, what we expect from you is the following. First, I think supervising students at ISBEP is a great opportunity for you to get more experience with challenge-based learning. I think we all know that our university is moving closer and closer to like having more challenge-based learning types of education involved in our educational programs. And supervising students at ISBEP is really giving you an opportunity to become more experienced with this type of education. Next, we expect you to join a few dedicated sessions where we want the students of a team to sit together with all of their academic coaches and the challenge owner to align on the direction that the team is taking that applies to the challenge owner and align on the directions that the individual students are taking to comply with the regulations that apply for individual bachelor end projects. And finally, we hope that you have the ability to be a little bit flexible in assessing students in terms of their progress, especially because at the beginning of the project, students tend to lag a little bit behind the students who are doing a traditional bachelor end project. But our experience tells us that towards the end of the project, students always catch up. And this is simply because they are spending more time and more effort in these projects compared to a student who does a traditional bachelor end project. Now, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at the email address that is shown here on the slide, isbep.innovationspace@tue.nl. We're always happy to help. We hope to see you at these dedicated sessions, and we hope that you will gain a lot from supervising students within ISBEP. Thank you for watching, and we will probably meet anytime soon.